Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer from McGinnis Sisters, and I have a confession to make. I absolutely hate going out to dinner. I think part of the reason is the food quality is kind of average and the service is often poor. So for this Valentine's Day, I don't want to spend $200 at a fancy steakhouse, and we're trying to save money in my house, so we're going to go ahead and grill at home. This year we're going to do a surf and turf from McGinnis Sisters, and we're going to spend more time together and have a really great night in. All right, let's get shopping. So we're here at the meat shop, and I'm going to pick up 2 surf and turf dinners. They're only $15.99 each, and they include 1 8-ounce filet mignon and 1 3 to 4 ounce cold water lobster tail. Perfect for dinner for 2. All right, now we're ready to season our steaks and get everything ready for the grill. Another reason why I choose to make my own Valentine's Day dinner is I know it's quality I can count on. All of our steaks are aged American Angus. Everything's all natural, so there's no hormones or antibiotics or anything like that. And so I can really feel good about the meal I'm gonna make for my date night. You can see these are 2 really good size 8-ounce filet mignon tails, and we're gonna go ahead and season them up with my favorite Montreal seasoning. You don't need to have a heavy hand because you really wanna have the great flavor and the richness of the steak shine through. Kind of rub it in there, really nice. Okay, and then flip it over. The Montreal seasoning will give it a great flavor and a nice crunch on the outside, but without overpowering the meat. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to the lobster tails. And the first thing you want to make sure is that your lobster tails are completely thawed. And if you are short on time or they're not thawed yet, go ahead and do a quick thaw. Just submerge them in a bowl of cold water for around 30 minutes or so. And you're going to need a pair of sturdy kitchen shears so we can cut the shells. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and loosen up the meat underneath the shell. It's really important that you go ahead and give it a little loosen all the way around because we want to get as much of that delicious lobster meat out as we can. Now you're going to go ahead and cut down one side of the shell all the way down to the end. And on the way, make sure, like again, everything is loosened on all sides. Okay, great. And now we're going to go ahead and make that same cut down the other side. And then you can just pull off this part of the shell and discard it. And then just do one more final check to make sure that all the lobster meat is loosened on either side of the tail. And then we're going to go ahead and pull it through the top. Perfect, just like a restaurant. So now let's go ahead and get the second tail started. Once again, just go ahead and get your finger in there and loosen up the lobster meat from the shell all the way around. And then start by making one cut all the way down the side. Check to make sure everything is loosening. Oh, great. And now make the same cut down the second side, all the way to the bottom. One more check to make sure everything is nice and loose. Okay, and discard that piece of shell. Okay, and then go ahead and pull the lobster meat through the top of the shell and then lay it nicely on the top, and you're ready for your restaurant meal at home. All right, so my grill's nice and hot, and let's get these guys on there. Whenever I'm cooking a surf and turf dinner, when it's time to flip the steaks over to the second side, that's when it's time to get the lobster on the grill. Make sure you always go with the meat side down first for about 2 to 3 minutes and then flip it back over to shell side. All right, so I'm putting some melted butter all over the meat of the lobster tail. That's really the only seasoning that you need because you want just the natural sweetness of the lobster meat to shine through. Okay, now we're ready for our lobster tails. The other thing to keep in mind is that you want the flesh of the lobster meat to go from a translucent to an opaque. Then you know your lobster tails are done and ready to eat. All right, time to flip. Look, beautiful grill marks. Ooh. And down just a couple more minutes on the shell side. Okay, it looks like we're all set. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer the lobsters to my plate. And then I'm gonna put just a little touch of butter on top as a finishing touch. And when you're ready to serve them, go ahead and just give a little bit of juice of lemon as well. All right, now you're all set to go for a romantic dinner with your sweetheart. Now, by cooking our surf and turf dinner at home, we saved at least $100. We totally avoided the noisy crowds, didn't have to pay for parking or any of the other hassles of going out to dinner. And just remember, if you don't want to grill your lobster tails, broiling is just as easy, and you can find those recipes at McGinnissisters.com. So happy Valentine's Day. I hope it's a great night.